Welcome to the Creative Life Story Work podcast, where we explore how to make life story work better for all care experienced children and young people. Creative life story work is an approach which can improve children and young people's lives and their relationship with others at home and at school. It's based on the Rose model of therapeutic life story work. Every month, we'll explore a different aspect of creative life story work, and we'll give insights into how you can use this approach to help care experienced children and young people make sense of their past and build a brighter future. In this month's episode, we're back at the Darlington Extra Conference, and we've managed to catch up with Professor Richard Rose, where we're going to hear what being a critical friend can mean and how a critical friend can help an organisation shape its life story work strategy. Delighted to see you here today, Richard. In real life, normally we just meet in a Zoom room. This is marvellous.
It's amazing, but also I now have to watch what I'm looking like, and I can't have my pyjamas on anymore. Other than that, I think, we're all good.
We're here today at the Darlington Extra Staff Conference, and you've been delivering workshops to a whole range of social workers, family workers, case workers. But I'm quite keen to talk to you about the role that you have played with our partnership work in Darlington in your role as a critical friend, and what that has been and how you found that.
Well, it's always interesting when people kind of invite you to be a critical friend, because one, you have to be by its very nature a critique of practice. You have to almost ask those questions that the devil would normally come up with, and that's hard when you're actually a friend too. And I think that the length of time we've been involved, it's gone from a professional relationship to more of a professional friend relationship. I think the thing that's helped though is that it's always been kind of comments or maybe suggestions and maybe opportunities that have been well kind of presented but also well received. So I think to be a critical friend with an organisation, and in this case several organisations in this project we've been involved in, has meant that it's been much more authentic, much more honest. And I think sometimes conversations that might be quite difficult to have, especially because most of them have been online or written feedback, has been kind of in a way potentially full of hiccups and trips and so on, but actually not. They've been kind of thought through, well received, changed some thinking, altered my thinking. So maybe critical friend has developed somewhere else, but at the beginning, yes, it was very much how can I critique something that actually might cause you hurt, and realising actually that's not what you needed. You just needed to have someone give you a different perspective.
Because they're really interested in thinking about strengthening and developing relationships. So I think you're in a unique position that you're doing that at both the strategic level and at really on the ground level with some of the workers that you've been delivering today. And I wondered, what were the connections between the two? What's the same and what's different?
I don't think there's anything that's different in a sense of, obviously the strategic thinking is what needs to be in place, what's the potential, what might be the challenges, a bit like we talk about when we do our training and we use things like Ishikawa's problem identifier. I think that the concept really, though, is once you have a strategy and then you're thinking about, well, the only way that strategy is going to have any meaning is by people following that strategy. That actually Darlington has, invested, a conference like this, workshops, membership of the Blue Cabin CLSW, to actually, allow the opportunity and to provide the respect to practitioners of identifying not just what the strategy is, but the steps of how to. It was a bit like this. Sometimes when I write kind of articles or books, I'm writing about the process, I'm writing about the thinking, but very rarely can we do that without the how to. So I think in a way what I would say is that I'm not just in a kind of a position which lets me see both. I'm in that privileged position to be able to explain both to both sides, and then realise there's no such thing as sides, that we're all in the same space. And so without practice, we don't get strategy. Without strategy, we don't know what the practice is. And what I've been able to be in a little way is a adhesive between the two. But let's be honest, a lot of what I see is now being generated not just by the practitioners kind of shaping strategy, but the strategists actually now shaping practice. So I think that's when you don't need people like me anymore.
So that's fantastic, because what you're describing there, you could draw almost as
that's what's going on in my head, Dawn.
Yeah, the picture of the. You need your slides up to show us the picture of the virtual circle.
I think like you and I, and we're very kind of like visual. And you're quite right. You caught me out. While I was talking, I was thinking, so what would that look like? And this morning we were looking at that micro, mezzo, macro. And I was thinking this morning about how we could do that in the internal working model. But maybe that's the answer to your question. Yeah. You know, we have the micro, the practitioner, we have the macro, which is the organisation, and in the middle, the mezzo. Yes. And maybe what we worked out is a way that we actually don't need too much mezzo. And I hope that's the case.
Yeah, fantastic. And as part of the strategy, and we're going to be talking to some of them later, I know that some of the social workers in Darlington have been doing your diploma, and I'm wondering how you're seeing that playing out in terms of workforce development, really, and where that fits into that virtual circle, if we were drawing it.
I mean, it's a really good question, because my workshop had just finished, actually, ended up with several people asking afterwards, well, do we have training for this? Right. And although that they may not have been in the children and family space, what they're saying is, look, how do I learn more about this? And then to be able to say to them, well, actually, Darlington has invested in people attending the diploma and the people attending the advanced certificate. And, that allows not just the learning to take place, but also the relationship of being part of TLSWI, the community. And so they continue with that ongoing support and hubs. But also what we're seeing, and I think this is something from the strategic nature of training up, of promoting knowledge, and then allowing that knowledge to kind of not go down to, but to be shared across, if you like. That's the joy. So today, for instance, I was able to point out several people that have done the diploma within Darlington Workforce, and then connecting them with those people. Without that strategy, without those people being trained, we couldn't have had that. And it would be Richard Rose talking about this what I think is a wonderful intervention, and then people saying, well, who can do it? And me saying, well, actually, there's just me. Strategy had to be, we need our resources, but I think there needs to be more resources. I think that we're finding more and more how important this work is across the space. And today in this forum, we're working with people not just working with children in care, but children, young people and adults, and how in therapeutic life story work and creative life story work, more and more we get involved in working with adults. And I think that having a mixed audience of professionals will mean that strategy of Darlington is making sense.
And finally, Richard, if you were going to give some advice to a local authority who was thinking about taking those first steps in terms of a strategy for life story work, after your partnership working in Darlington and other experiences, what might those first steps be?
Well, I think for me, it would be that there would need to be certain people within that authority that would want to champion the concept that children know their story. And there are. There's no doubt about that. There are. And then it's about thinking strategically what that might look like. So policies, procedures, talking to Blue Cabin, talking to people that have been involved, and then starting to map out what that might look like. So I think that the creative All About Me, where you have certain young people will benefit from this, certain from more detailed, and then from a very detailed approach, actually allows an organisation to start their journey. So as an example, and I know that you're doing this at the moment with other organisations, and same with me, we've got Cornwall, Highlands and other places who are now starting their All About Me, creative All About Me journey to establish that first. And then while they're doing that, training up people, looking at policies for that, More About Me and TLSW, and then creating a process which we have as in CLSW, the flowchart, which allows then gatekeepers to work out who will benefit most from what intervention. I think the other thing I would say is not to underestimate the authority that our carers can give. And I think sometimes just doing what Blue Cabin did with South Tyneside, for instance, right at the very beginning of our journey together, which was to bring everyone together like this conference and say, what is this? And do we think we should do it? And if we did do it, what would it mean? And then everything else will follow.
Richard, as ever, a huge pleasure to speak to you. Enjoy your workshops this afternoon. I might try and sneak in on one. Thank you. Try
and sneak in. I might need the people to attend. I'm only joking. Thank you, Dawn. Take care.
Thank you.
Whether you're a foster carer, someone who has experience with the care system, or you work with children and young people, we hope this episode has given you an insight into how we can make life story work better for young people and how you can use it in your own practice. You can find out more about Creative Life Story Work on our website, creativelifestorywork.com, and you can find us on LinkedIn and Twitter, or X as it's now called, at CreativeLSW. Please do get in touch there with any comments or questions, as we'd really love to hear from you. And if your podcast app allows, please do leave us a review, as it really helps others to find our show. So until next month, bye for now.
We want people to gain more of an understanding about what it's like to be care experienced and to have a better understanding of what it actually means.
Could creative life story work make a difference to the care experienced children and young people you work with? Maybe you're a social worker.
I think we forget at our peril that actually telling a child the story of their early life is one of the most profound uses of social work power that we could ever operate.
Perhaps you're a foster carer.
You know, when they say it's all about the child, it's not, because our experiences, it's about the carer and the child. And it just gives a new angle to our relationship because we're learning about each other together.
A Creative Life Story Work membership will give you, or your whole team, access to resources, including activities you can use in direct work with children and young people, training with life story work experts, and lots more.
And I think a lot of our children are looking for meaning, looking for, well, why is it I feel this way when my friends don't? Why is it I get angry internally and my friends don't? The greatest thing we see is when we are able to say to young people, this is your story, this is about who you are. And then children towards the end say, it's not my fault that these things happened, but it is something that I can do something about. And once we have that, then we know we can move forward.
Find out about our membership for individuals and for organisations on our website, creativelifestorywork.com.